So in Excel, it can, and I would suggest should, look like this. So you will be asked in the test for Module 2 to produce a graph, and it needs to look a little bit like this. It'll be a different shape, but it should be clean. I don't want shading, I don't want little bars, I don't want funny things along the bottom. It needs to be a clear graph which is just showing what we want, which is the hours worked against the profit per hour. Okay, so let's have a look about the other way of drawing graphs, is with slope and intercept. And the reason I'm talking about this is because later on you're going to be doing linear regression, and I've taught this for some decades now, and there are two main issues to do with linear regression that students have trouble with. And one of them is interpreting the line, and the other one is understanding the inference. So what we've decided to do is that Irene, who teaches the statistics part of the course, will teach you about the inference, but I'm going to teach you about fitting a line and interpreting lines, and we're hoping by revisiting it twice that it will make it easier for you to understand. Okay, so linear, a slope and an intercept. The y-intercept is the value of y when x equals 0. So if you go back to this one here, the intercept here is where this line crosses the y-axis. So this is usually called y, but it's actually p of h. And that's really h. But we usually call them x, or it's short form, we call them x and y, and we just get used to the fact that x goes on the bottom and y goes along up the side. And these are sometimes known as independent and dependent variables. These are terms that you'll hear in regression. And what it means is that the profit depends on how many hours. The number of hours does not depend on the profit. Do you see what I'm saying here? So if I say, how much profit are we going to make? It depends on how many hours we do. So as the hours change, so does the profit. Okay, so here we have our slope, which says how much the profit changes for each change in the hours. So it's how much it goes up divided by how much it goes along, or a rise over run. Those all mean the same thing, but have been taught differently at school. Any one of them works. I like up over along because it's nice, easy words for me. And so you have the up number over your along number. And this one's better in terms of making sure you get positive or negative correct, but I'm hoping that by the end of this course you will just know whether a line is positive or negative slope. Well, hopefully you know it already. Okay, so the slope for the hedge trimming problem is, and I'll just find my answers here, 25. Each time we add 1 hour, we add $25 to the profit. So that is what slope means. It means as we increase the horizontal value by 1, or the independent value by 1, then we increase the dependent value by that amount. If we'd increased the horizontal value by 5, then we would multiply that number by 5, and that's how much we increased the other one by. Now, if my axes were the same scale, that would be a very, very steep slope. 25 is just about vertical. But if you look along here, you'll see my scale here, that distance there is 13, and the same distance in this direction is about 500. So the scale is not the same on both axes, and that can be very tricky when you're coming to find slopes, and that's why there are questions in Module 2 that get you to interpret that, to look at graphs that have different scales and work out what the slope is, because that is a useful skill. Okay, another way to draw a graph is by drawing a line of the correct slope passing through the intercept.